Hello, buenos dias. I began my own creative life as a composer, which of course I still am, and the prospect of combining music and vision inspired me. From very early on, I remember even as a teenager in high school, I had what I thought was the very novel idea that since sound and color are both related as frequencies, that perhaps there could be some correspondence between them. I knew that the harmonies of music resulted from the Pythagorean ratios of sound frequencies, and so I reasoned that I might find a corresponding harmony of colors. Of course, I discovered that I was only echoing a proposal that goes back to at least to Isaac Newton. And of course we can see here his color wheel from optics from around 1700, in which he shows not only the colors of the spectrum, but also the letters of the diatonic scale. And discovering this precedent also answered a childhood mystery, which was why I learned in elementary school why there are 7 colors in the spectrum that I learned. I asked my teacher, what is indigo? Where did that come from? And of course it's right here in this color wheel. My teacher just shrugged and said, well, I guess it was a much more popular color centuries ago. But in fact, indigo is there because Newton felt very strongly that the color spectrum should be divided into 7, because the musical octave is divided into conventionally into a 7-tone diatonic scale. In doing so, of course, Newton was following much more ancient tradition of the word harmony, one that describes not just the consonances of musical tones, but the very order of the universe. In the Pythagorean tradition, the concords of musical tones are reflections of the order of the cosmos, the divine algebra made perceptible to our senses in the form of musical sounds. Now, as visual musicians, we have the abilities to represent such proportions, to create interplays of concord and chaos, and between the senses in time. Today, I'll briefly discuss harmonic proportions normally associated with musical consonances to vision, including the harmony of color, harmony of space, but I'll concentrate on another kind of harmony, a harmony of motion, with some examples from my work. Of those who followed up Newton's idea of wrapping the octave around the color wheel, perhaps the most successful was this guy here, Wallace Remington, who was an inventor whose color organ dazzled Victorian audiences at the time. And but when I tried to replicate his experiments translating music into colors, such as that you see here, when I tried to do this in software, all I experienced really was this incomprehensible flashing of hues, nothing to suggest the emotional power or discourse that I felt in music. This idealization of musical harmonic relationships can also be found in the canons of proportions seen in ancient sculpture and architecture, and brought to beautiful fruition in Arabic geometrical abstractions. Works of these types have inspired several of my works that I'll talk about in a minute, including one being shown this evening at the planetarium. It was clear to me that if I wanted to, if I sought this type of harmony in a time-based medium, I wouldn't find it by the simple mapping of basic characteristics of one sense medium, such as pitch, to another sense medium, such as color. And I set out to explore a different type of harmony, a harmony of motion. And I didn't know it then, but this type of harmony had been realized in a way already in certain types of dance. These are pictures of 16th and 17th century particular type of ballet in which dancers would periodically form geometric and symbolic patterns in the choreography. They visually created the same harmonic relationships that were in the music, inspired by the Neo-Pythagorean Plotinus, who described the universe as a cosmic dance. This tradition, interestingly, comes down to us even in the 20th century in the extravagant choreographies of the Hollywood choreographer Busby Berkeley. As you can see, these film clips from perhaps 42nd Street. These are live pictures of dancers creating these mandala-like images. As a graduate student, I found one answer to the problem in a curious library book called Digital Harmony on the Complementarity of Music and Visual Art by John Whitney. Now, Whitney proposed that digital computers could enable the artist to create visual elements and move visual elements in Pythagorean harmonic relationships, creating a controlled interplay of order and chaos, of tension and resolution. Here is his explanation of this principle.
I think I can demonstrate here probably the simplest possible schematic visualization of the concept of digital harmony by this simple little film, which is also on the video disc. Here is an idea which I think is just fundamental to the organization of any pattern event in time. It is a discovery of a primary principle. At least it has become the foundation of all my work in recent years. These 24 hexagons will move in a circle obeying a simple programmed rule. The rule makes each hexagon move exactly 1 unit faster than its next smaller neighbor. So hex number 2 moves 1 unit faster than 1. Number 3, 1 unit faster than number 2. 4 faster than 3, and so on. Thus hex number 24 will move 24 times faster than number 1. The rule of harmonic procession would be an appropriate name for this rule, as you will see. Watch the white dot. It will serve as a clock to time the events as they happen. When the clock reaches 1/4 around the full circle, our 24 hexes divide into 4 equal groups. Now they continue around by the procession rule till the white dot reaches 1/3. The 24 hexes now form 3 groups. On to the halfway point. Watch the clock. You can expect they will divide into 2 groups. Already a significant observation can be made. You can expect an event to happen. We have set an harmonic process in motion, and as it works itself out, we can predict the outcome. We have created expectations, and there is some pleasure to be had when expectations are satisfied. Watch the remaining fractional groups occur. You can count the next third, then the fourth, the last fifth, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You can count them or not. This is the simplest way I've found to show idea become feeling. You don't need to count the hexagon groups to experience a kind of anticipation, a joy of recognition, to feel something vicariously akin to a rival home when this happens.
I was working at the University of Southern California one day. My computer graphics professor came to me to say that he had a call from an animator who was looking for an assistant, and this animator was very interested in music, and so he thought of me. It asked if I would be interested, and of course the animator was John Whitney himself, and I quickly agreed. Among other things, Whitney sought my help in the vision that he had in which these animated elements, such as the hexagons you saw in his demonstration, would correspond to sine waves, that each element, each hexagon, as it went up and down, would correspond to a sine wave that would go up and down in pitch as well. And so at the time, of course, this is the late 1980s, we didn't really have the technology to realize this in real time, which was what he was really interested in. But I began to consider what it would mean for, in detail, for the pitch to be corresponding not to color as in my earlier experiment, but to his idea of harmony. And what I concluded was that at points like this one in the hex demo, where we're at the 1/3 point, and that the hexagons have divided themselves, as you can see, into 3 groups, that suggested to me a musical harmony that would consist of unity, that is corresponding to this 12 o'clock position, 1/3 and 2/3 in the 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock positions. Or in the language of musical ratios, 1-to-1, 3-to-2, and 3-to-1. That is the unity, the perfect fifth, and the octave above the perfect fifth. Likewise, if you had 1/4 way around the cycle, you would have a 4-to-4, that is the unity, 4-to-3, 4-to-2, 4-to-1, and so on, creating what in tuning would be called the subharmonic series, corresponding to each one of these divisions of the period of this cycle. And it doesn't just have to be, in this very simple case, the movement around a circle, but as you may have seen in many of Whitney's works, they can be many types of movements. The key being that it is periodic, and that this so-called harmonic precession that he was talking about, where the second element moves twice as fast as the first, the third 3 times as fast as the first, and so on, that is recapitulating the harmonic series in motion, that relationship remain as well. And so I began to create a video demonstration of this idea, which I completed only after John Whitney's death. But I'll show it now. So in this case, the different elements will move not in a circle, but according to a different type of algorithm, a rose curve in polar coordinates, which you saw also on the first day in that bit of John Whitney's permutations. So as you see here, at each one of the points that you see represented by the number in red in the top right, as it approaches a whole number ratio, the tones, like the pattern in visually, will coalesce into harmonic relationships where the tones are not expressible, or where this period is not expressible by a simple integer ratio. The tones will be will not have that same harmonic relationship, and the visual elements will be not in a symmetrical pattern. So now we come to 9 to 1. And here's an example of where it would be if we stopped it in the middle. And then going down to the next point of consonance. Or, as Whitney sometimes called it, a point of resonance. Does not have to be simply an integer. The important thing is that it is an integer relationship. For example, 3.5 or 7 to 2. There's another 2.5 or 5 to 2. Here's 2.2 and a third. 2, the octave, is all we have left in the tones. 3 to 2, the perfect fifth. And the unity. I have a few examples of how I've implemented different ideas of harmony and applied some of the ideas of Whitney in my own works. For example, here is a piece, an excerpt from my piece Static Cling, in which the elements, in this case a bunch of triangles, are moving according to yet a different algorithm, but again, finding those points of resonance at points of stability or consonance in the music. Here's an excerpt from another piece, Stellation, where again the elements are moving around according to different algorithms, but you can see where the shapes correspond at points of stability or consonance in the music. may notice in the background here these various tessellations create another kind of harmony. I mentioned the Arabic geometrical abstraction earlier, and these are, again, this was an inspiration, something I first learned from Whitney and went on to research myself. So these geometrical abstractions are sometimes called frozen music. So in a sense, I've thawed them out. I've unfrozen them to create different points at which they converge or diverge, much like the other elements. For example, here's a piece that I did for video projection and a live orchestra called Celestial Dance. You'll see some of both elements in this. Another application of, this is again from Static Cling, this is another application of Whitney's idea taken in another way. You will see these kind of columns marching, or lines marching from left to right across the visual field. They do so in the same speed relationships as in his harmonic procession. That is, there are three, each flashing according to rhythms in this polyrhythmic texture. The first at one speed, the second twice as fast, and the third twice as fast as that. So metrically, they will correspond at points where the polyrhythm converges, and so on. Finally, here's just a short clip of the piece that will be on the planetarium show called Breath of the Compassionate, that converges into this beautiful tessellation that I have to admit that I have found existing in Arabic art. And so but it is this beautiful 14 leaf radial symmetry that comes together at this important point in the piece. The musical accompaniment is with electronics and a live gamelan orchestra, or instruments from Java, Indonesia. Breath of the Compassionate refers to a type of Arabic abstraction in which borders of two different shapes will alternately extrude or intrude into each other, creating a kind of inhalation and exhalation in space. And that is, as you can see, found both in the visually and in the kind of back and forth motion of the musical harmony. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Yes, Dennis.
Yes, quick question. When
Yes.
you're working with harmony in both the sound and the image, are you just syncing the two media manually, or is there something?
Yes,
that
unlike that brief demonstration that I showed of algorithmic sine waves going around, I have put together the harmonies of sound and vision in a just artistically. And this was the way that Whitney worked as well. That there are times, in fact, when I may want just artistically for the soundtrack to be at odds with what you're seeing visually. And there are times when it is very effective for the two to converge.
Tiempo para una pregunta más.
You showed an example with white points, and there was a number that showed a relation. That relation was between the sine waves. I didn't understand that.
Well, that relation, if you recall Whitney's hex demo, with the little dot going around the side, that number represented the proportion of the slowest moving element to the entire period. So, so when it comes around to 1, that is the point of the entire period. That's the point of unity. But when it starts at 10, that means that it is really 1/10 of the way around. So at the various points at which it corresponds to whole number ratios, the sine waves also will find the same harmonic proportions of that periodic change in pitch. I hope that's a little clearer.
Okay, we need to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gracias. Vamos entonces a...